Came here to say who won it from the jump. Came here to get exactly what you want. Came here to say that you don't really want it with us. Yeah, we live, you know. We came here to say that you don't really want it with us. Yeah, the sports show.
Yerrr.
Yerrr.
Tay is not having it on this Wednesday night with a yo instead of a yerrr. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is episode 180 of the Yerrr Sports Show. I am Pete Rosado, and let us start with the one, the only 50, 60, 100K Tay, the queen of the Yerrr Sports Show herself, Tavia at the top of the pyramid. How are you, queen?
I'm great. I'm blessed and highly favored. How are you?
Listen. I can't ask for anything better. Blessed and highly favored is where we all want to be. I know there's a misplaced nose running around your house right now from what we heard earlier backstage.
She's in rare form because it's her birthday week, so she's been acting extra.
My birthday is in 2 days, but who's counting?
That's all good, niece. I'm right behind you. I'm right ahead of you. I'm right ahead of you.
Yeah, we still don't know. What are you doing for your birthday?
Absolutely nothing. You know how I do. Nothing.
I'm taking her to Beyonce tomorrow.
Hey, not Cowboy Carter.
Well, sing and clap. Tell her to sing and clap her hand for the both of us.
I'm going to a dance party with Beyonce.
Yes,
Hey.
Beyonce.
And at the bottom of the pyramid, with a haircut that cannot be seen by the public just yet because we don't know how it looks, the wise brother himself, Mr. I believe the barber, when he told me I only had one person ahead of me.
Yeah, that's a scam.
Yeah.
Listen. I got the best hairline out of the gentlemen on the show. So I mean, y'all.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have the most hair out of all the gentlemen on this show.
Right, but you and Matt's hairline are pushed back the furthest.
No, my hairline
show
has never changed. This is where my hairline has been my entire life.
I'm sorry.
I do not have receding hair. I have nice, luscious hair. And mind you, top hair that has not grayed yet either or started falling out.
Soon, Mister, I just got married. Soon, it's coming.
Soon come.
Listen, 10 years of being a teacher, 1 month and 10 days of being married. Tay, I made it a month. I survived the first month.
The first month is usually the easiest. So, kudos to you guys.
Yeah, listen, got married and baptized all within the same month.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah,
damn, I bet you that water was bubbling. Oh, man.
Yo, if I try to get baptized,
Listen, shout out to Living Word Church out here in Union, New Jersey. I just had my baptism about about 2 weeks ago. Me and Shanice got baptized. It was a beautiful, beautiful evening. And I also decided to be a little bit crazy and joined my church's softball team. So I've been pulling every muscle in my body, which, by the way, I just want to say this real quick before we get into our topics for the day. I've played high school baseball. Mm-hmm. I have played college baseball. I have played youth league, teenage league football in Harlem. I have played basketball on concrete courts in New York City. And I have not ever seen the level of competitiveness and vitriol that I am seeing on the softball pitch with these church softball teams.
Nobody, I was going to say something, but, given the fact of your dedication to our Lord and Savior.
No, say it. Speak on it, Tay.
Church people are the worst.
Oh, type it. I'll say it.
Church people are the worst, man. I don't know. I don't. Stay tuned. It gets messier. The more involved you guys get in the church, the more you're going to see the church is messy.
Yep.
Every church.
Every church.
Shanice came to the last game and she was just like, she saw something, a little exchange go down. Mind you, no curses was said, but she
of course not. But it's ugly actions, not the curses. The curses is
Yeah, she saw an exchange go down, and she was like,
I'm a curse.
"Excuse me." But let us get into it. We are in the midst of the NBA Conference Finals, and let's start with the game 5 tonight, the Western Conference Finals, Minnesota Timberwolves and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma City with a 3-1 advantage right now, going back to Oklahoma City after 2 in Minnesota. They won game 4, 128-126. Tay, I'm going to start with you. Is OKC wrapping this up in 5, or is Minnesota going to give them at least something to punch for by stealing another win in Oklahoma City in game 5?
I mean, usually Ant-Man definitely delivers on elimination games. So his average for elimination games is usually around close to 28 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. So I do think that they're going to put up a hell of a fight. That last game was insane. I think that was a winnable game. But I do think that this series is done for the most part. I called OKC in 6. I do think that the Timberwolves are a really good game. I do think that a really good team. And I do think that there's been this unnecessary amount of pressure put on Anthony Edwards, who I think that once you try not to take care of your kids, you're not going to be blessed in life. And this is a representation of that. So
I was waiting. I was like, it's coming. It's coming. Tate's gonna say it.
Yeah, absolutely. A man who don't take care of his kids won't prosper. So, while I do like the Timberwolves, I do think that, Dante DiVincenzo kept them in that game. It's as if he remembered who he was from the Knicks and lit a fire. Julius Randle is exactly who I say he is. So he's been performing. He has not been performing up to, the expectation of Julius Randle. The other previous series, they were kind of like, putting this again, they're putting pressure on players that ain't about that in real time. But I was really impressed with DiVincenzo. I was really impressed with Anthony Edwards. Deadbeat dad stuff aside. And then, Julius Randle, I think I went into the chat and was saying that how, this is exactly why the Knicks traded him. But I do think OKC wraps it up tonight. I do. I'd be surprised if it goes to 6.
Let me do something I haven't done in a long time. Let me go to the notepad. Let me go to the stats right here when I'm looking this up in terms of this game, this series so far. I mean, in game 2 and in game 4, Julius Randle had 2 of his lowest scoring point totals ever in the history of his playoff career. In game 2, he scored a grand total of 6 points in 31, almost 32 minutes on the floor, shot 2 for 11 from the field, and then he decided to do one better than that in game 4, scored 5 points in 28 minutes on the floor, shooting 1 for 7, both games shooting 0 for 3 from 3, and a combined 3 for 12 from the free throw line. And his ancillary stats, not any much better. Now, his greatest game 1, 28 points, and then game 3 with 24 points, the only game that Minnesota has won so far, that first game in Minnesota. But that defense, the defense on both Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards, in fact, when you really think about it, their defense on Anthony Edwards has been a major player. Just in game 4 alone, he took only 2 shots in the first half, 13 for the entire game, finished only with 16 points. It was very rare to see Anthony Edwards score less than 20 points. In fact, going back to the notepad here, he didn't take his first 3-pointer in that game till less than 6 minutes were left in that game.
Yes, I remember seeing that.
Right. And so you look at like guys like Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, like talk about Alex Caruso as one of the heroes of this Oklahoma City team, the veteran presence of Alex Caruso playing dividends on defense for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Going back into these stats as well, you're looking at the way they played on Randall. I mean, in game 4, he had 5 points and 4 turnovers at halftime and finished with 5 points on 1 for 7 shooting the whole game. Okay. And we spoke about this last time we all met for episode 179. I said one of the biggest keys to this game.
I wasn't there, so don't say we all.
Right. This is true. Me, Matt, and Dre. Chet Holmgren showing up and Jalen Williams showing up and being consistent. Because listen, SGA, right now the MVP, big props to him, came within 1 rebound of a 40-point triple-double in game 4. It's tough to see, and the stats are proving it right now. Julius Randle can't dribble. Oklahoma City knows that. They're flooding him every single time on the defensive end. They're keeping Anthony Edwards contained, and they know that unless you're getting the ball to DiVincenzo, or unless you're getting the ball for some reason to Naj Reid, or Gobert is turning into an offensive force for some reason, you're not.
And Gobert has been playing really sloppy as well. Let's be real here. Costly turnovers down. I'm not easy pot calling kettle black. I'm not. Okay, is going to win
that we saw in the Golden State series, too.
But go ahead. Gobert is going, and what's not fair too, his criticism, because the spotlight's so big on Edwards and so big on Randall and DiVincenzo because of the Knicks. Gobert is skating by. Yeah. They need to hold his ass to the fire too.
Listen, Dre, what do you got? Do you think Minnesota's able to pull out game 5, pull out a shocker on the road in Oklahoma City, at least push this to a game 6 back in Oklahoma, back in Minnesota, or does Oklahoma City wrap this up in game 5?
A gentleman's sweep. A gentleman's sweep is upon us. OKC is the better team all around. OKC just doesn't have an Ant Edwards, but they have a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They have an MVP. They have somebody that's going to set the table for them, and then they have others that are better than the rest of the others in the league that's going to make them be over the top. Now, Anthony Edwards said something in the post-game interview last night, which had me kind of scratching my head for a budding superstar, and this also goes to show him how he feels about being perceived as the next face of the league. They asked him how he feel about his game. Did he have an off game? He then says, well, I didn't take enough shots to have an off game. I just played the right way. Now, in theory, he did not take enough shots to have an off game, but as a superstar in a must-win game, why is that the approach you're taking? Right? Why is that the approach you're taking? Any other star in the league, we'd be like, yo, excuse me? Like, what do you mean? Like, yes, you had an off game because you weren't aggressive enough. Julius Randle, 1 for 7? 5 points? Like, come on, bro. Like you want to chuck up 1,000 shots, and the other time you only took 7 shots. Now, don't get me wrong. Oklahoma City's defense is a premier level defense. But at the same time, that hasn't stopped Anthony Edwards nor Julius Randle from chucking up shots any other time. So I don't feel like they wanted enough. Because if you just look at the press conferences, they're just all chill and relaxed, like, all right, well, 1, 2, 3, Cancun. Like,
yeah, but dejected and disinterested could be misinterpreted. You get what I'm saying? Like, Oklahoma City is way more of I agree with a lot of what you're saying. They're a way more complete team. I do think that the Timberwolves are better than they're playing. When all cylinders are not firing off where they need to be, like, of course, Randall had an off night. This had an off night. Anthony Edwards can't do it by himself. The hero ball type of mindset is not realistic anymore. No one cares about that. Play better, play harder. No one wants to see another Dame Lillard in Portland, another Jimmy Butler in Chicago, in Miami. Nobody wants to see that anymore.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, when you're talking about Anthony Edwards being the star of that team, they traded Karl Anthony Towns away on the aspect that like this was Anthony Edwards' team now. And when you are a player of that caliber on a team, it is expected that you figure out ways to take over the game in crunch time, figure out ways to make the plays that are necessary. When you're seeing Randall not being able to be an efficient scorer, you need to, and this also goes on to Chris Finch and the Minnesota Timberwolves coaching staff, you need to figure out a different offensive approach because what you're doing isn't working. And the defense of the Oklahoma City Thunder is completely throwing your offensive system into disarray. And so the question has to be, what are we doing to alleviate things? What are we doing? Who's coming to the rescue? Because when SGA, not that he has struggled, but when SGA is struggling, you got guys like Jalen Williams who scored 34 points on 24 shots. Who's stopping Jalen Williams? When you got Chet Holmgren, who's essentially the number 3 option, but is coming in with 21.7 rebounds and 3 blocks in this game, like, what are we doing here? Okay. And this is where at the end of the day, you have a bench. They have played deep into their bench. If I'm not mistaken, they've played, let me just look this up for they've played 14 deep. Okay. You've got Mike Conley starting. You got Rudy Gobert. You've got Naz Reid. You've got Alexander Walker. You got Jaden McDaniels. So what are we doing here right now? Naz Reid averaging 8.8 points a game. Gobert barely 7 points a game. And the drop off between Edwards and Randall is significant. Anthony Edwards averaging 24 points a game, while Randall is only averaging 15.8 a game. So you need to be able to take more shots. You need to be able to, control the game. And that is what the star players that we talk about in the 90s and the early 2000s, they knew when the lights were on, it's time for them to become the focus. And if they're not able to score, get the ball out there. You would never have heard Kobe say, I didn't take enough shots to have a bad game. You would have never heard players of that caliber say that. And when Anthony Edwards says that, it really does say a lot. But right now, as we record this, the game is live, Game 5 in Oklahoma City. Currently, right now, 11-3 Thunder in the first quarter. And I have to think the Thunder have to be a heavy favorite if they make it to the finals. But speaking about favorites, Tay, you were not here for episode 179. And slightly, I'm a little glad, if only because I am glad that we did not have to have the on-air wrath of you hearing Dre pick the Indiana Pacers to beat the New York Knicks. I thought that as New Yorkers, as Knick aficionados and fans, we were kind of obligated legally to pick the Knicks in any series. But I hate to say this, Dre may have been right. And I'm going to start with Dre here. Dre, your Pacers are up 3-1. The series is shifting back to New York for Game 5. What's working and what's not working in this series? And do you see it going past Game 5?
All right. First and foremost, Terry already know how I feel about the Knicks anyway. So
yeah, but nobody care about the Heat.
Yeah, no, listen, it's fine. Nobody care about the Heat, but like I said, I told everybody my pick was not a hater pick, and then people started when they heard the episode thought I was a hater, so now I gotta be a hater, right? So, but initially the Pacers in 6 was the Pacers have an overall like well put together team, and we're seeing different pieces do what they need to do now. Let's be completely transparent and not act like we haven't all watched the games. I will not sit here and act like there have been times that the whistle has leaned more towards the Pacers than it has been the Knicks.
What do you mean
And
at times? Most of the times, and these are close games. You gotta let them play.
Right, but the problem is when they let them play, the players are complaining. That's the problem.
Nobody complained. It's blatant. It is blatant. And my thing is, every game could have gone either way.
Mm-hmm.
But the refs got in the way almost every single time. Game one aside, game one was totally on the Knicks. I'm not ever going to dispute that.
Uh-huh.
But games 2, game 3, and game 4 had some pretty shoddy officiating. Pretty shoddy. And I think it's series bending officiating. And for me to say that, it has to be serious, because I hate the idea that these players try to draw the foul before score the points. I hate that the league is that now. I hate it. But I'm not a fan of how they're officiating. And the thing is, 4 fouls, what was it? 4 fouls in 12 seconds or 12 fouls in 4 seconds?
4 fouls in 12 seconds.
How do you commit 4 fouls in 12 seconds? How? In the Eastern Conference Finals, when the game is on the line. How? I think to be honest with you, if the Knicks are down 30 points and none of the calls are going their way, I wouldn't say a damn thing. But if a team is down 4 points, if a team is down 6 points, either way, Indiana or New York, I think you let them play unless it's flagrant, unless it's blatant. If it could, and then to be honest with you, Indiana's winning the challenges as well on some questionable play. So it makes Thibodeau question whether he should use his challenges, because he hasn't won the series.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong in terms of that, but that's the next point I was getting to. Tibbs is, I think you said this in the chat. Tibbs is saying one thing in terms of the game plan, and the players are doing something totally different. They don't look like they're in sync. The Knicks don't look like they're in sync. That could be because of their officiating. That could be because they're tired. But the Knicks also don't look tired.
They don't look tired.
This is the first. I'll give you this. This is the first year in the Tom Thibodeau era where the New York Knicks, all 7 of the players that he plays, do not look tired. And he's also extended the bench, which I have to give to him. He's also extended the bench by about 2 players, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that's working, but I also think that takes the flow away from the 7 players that you usually play. Also, the way they're guarding Jalen Brunson, they want the others to beat them. And
the others are doing better than Brunson.
Yeah.
But then you in the catch-22.
Yeah.
Because he's your guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy. You get what I'm saying? So you give him a break. Everybody, you know what? Thibodeau can't win in this, but finish your point so I can go ahead.
I also feel like Brunson has been holding the ball too long at certain times too. At certain possessions.
That's what got us here.
Okay. It did. You could go with what you know. You definitely could go with what you know, but sometimes you gotta switch it up. And like I said, everybody on the Pacers know the severity of the games. I think the Knicks do too. I think the Pacers are playing better, but I can agree that the officiating has been spotty as well. No, but I did originally say Pacers in 6. It was almost going to be Pacers in 4, but I think the Pacers close it out the next game. Actually, no. I think the Knicks win the next game because the Knicks are not going to go out like that in the Garden. I don't think the Knicks are going to go out like that.
They haven't played well in the Garden this series during the playoffs at all. But
yeah. Go ahead, Queen.
Okay. The Knicks fumbled game 1, and some people will call the worst playoff loss in history. I personally feel that game 1 of 2025 is among the worst, but you can't rank that over Patrick Ewing's 1995 finger roll of doom that effectively eliminated the Knicks from the playoffs. You get what I'm saying? So that's number 1. Number 2, every time I do believe that the Pacers are playing better, but that doesn't mean that the Pacers are playing particularly well either. This is
I
not
agree.
the Pacers
I
that
agree.
I saw beat Cleveland. They
You're
are
absolutely
sloppy
right.
too.
You're absolutely right.
You get what I'm
You're
saying?
absolutely right.
They are sloppy too. Haliburton finally had a superstar level game last night. Besides that buzzer beater, Neesmith was keeping him in the game 1, right? Game 2, it was Siakam. Game 3, the Knicks won. And last night, it was Haliburton. But to be honest with you, you got Turner looking crazy. You get what I'm saying? Like legit wrestling Karl Anthony Towns. You got Neesmith. You mean to tell me that that Neesmith wasn't going to play last night's game? Like Karl Anthony Towns is not going to play tomorrow night's game unless it's a really serious injury. People are going so far to say, well, Thibodeau is being outcoached, right? If you play the same 7 men in rotation for most of the season, 8 men at most, because Deuce gets some numbers sometimes, Campaign got some numbers sometimes, you're saying 7, 8 guys in rotation, you put some fresh new guys in. The Pacers don't know what to do with them because they're fresh new guys. You get what I'm saying? But Thibodeau is caught between a rock and a hard place. Because if he only plays his 7, people will be like, what about the bench? And if he plays his bench, you hear people saying, what is he doing? You got to give it to Brunson. You got to get Cat involved. And it seems, and what I would say is that Cat and Brunson look disjointed. Brunson looks disjointed. This entire series, Brunson has not been at his best at all. And when Brunson's not at his best, the team is going to suffer. Period. That's 1. 2, right? Cat is getting beat up SmackDown style on offense. And then him and Brunson are not great defenders at all. And then OG disappeared games 1 and 2. Where was OG Anunoby? And you don't think it's crazy that Jalen Brunson had 5 fouls in the third quarter? He had 4 fouls before the halftime. Is that average for him? Absolutely not.
No, it's not. It's not.
Was that average throughout even these playoffs? Absolutely not. And then in one hand, the Knicks were not the best team in the Eastern Conference. I think the Knicks are a fancy 4 seed. If that. So, in one hand, I'm happy that they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. This is the furthest they've gone in 25 years. So, it's a sign of a promising thing to come. That's what I think. Josh Hart played sloppy, but he gave it all he had. He was getting the rebounds that Cat's not getting as a big guy. Mitchell Robinson has been the Knicks' MVP this entire playoffs.
Man, that's what I was going to get to next. Oh,
Mitch Robinson,
man.
he's been the MVP, but there's only so much he could do too. Because if you are creating defensive stops on the defensive side, and then by the time you dribble to the damn 3-point line, you have 7 seconds left and trying to find and scramble and find a play. You try to draw a foul, you're not getting the fouls. You make errant passes in clutch time. The turnovers are abysmal. And what Indiana is doing, the Knicks are beating themselves, and Indiana is capitalizing off of the Knicks' mistakes. To me, that's a tale of two series. Do I believe that? I thought it was going to be Knicks in 7. I always foresaw this series going 7 games. I'd be surprised if the Knicks don't win tomorrow. You get what I'm saying? But that game 1 was totally on them. And I think that set the tone for this series. And but when you look at the league, and first of all, I don't think Reggie Miller should be commentating on this series at all. I think it's biased. I think it's whack. And to be honest with you, even he last night was saying how the refs were blowing calls. Like, that's all you can see. I only saw the fourth quarter for real because I was out. I only saw the fourth quarter. And I do believe the Knicks put themselves in a deficit early in the game. They battled back. But each of these games were all winnable games. There was not one game, to me, that Indiana clearly beat them. They outplayed them. They didn't outwork them because the Knicks are all over the place. So they're doing double work. So it's not about they're outsmarting them on the court. Not really the coaching. Not really. Because let me tell you something. If the Pacers make it out this round, OKC is going to sweep them bad. They're going to get embarrassed. Haliburton, Urkel ass. And yes, he is overrated and he is underwhelming. He took that personally. Good for him. After this season, nobody's going to give a hell about a Haliburton. This is going to be the lowest watched NBA Finals in history. Nobody wants to see the NBA. Like in 2000, when the Lakers won their first chip, no one gave a shit about Reggie Miller going to the finals in 2000.
No, nobody cared.
Nobody cared. Nobody cared.
See, the problem with that is the simple fact is the teams that were supposed to be there are just not there.
No, but everybody loves the Knicks. They're a mainstream team. They were an underdog story.
Yeah, they're the last mainstream. They're the last mainstream team standing because it's usually second round time for the Knicks. The Knicks have played well. On to Mitchell Robinson, like you said, Mitchell Robinson has affected the game in so many ways. Mitchell Robinson's only issue is guarding Miles Turner. The thing is, when he's on the floor. When Miles Turner is on the floor and they're on defense, Mitchell Robinson is playing safety. And that's not good because Miles Turner can shoot. I'm not saying Miles Turner is a world beater from the three-point line, but I'm sure in this series, and Pete, you can correct me because I don't have the numbers in front of me, but Miles Turner is probably shooting closer to 40% from the three-point line in the series. And that's amazing for a damn near footer, right? We don't see it often from footers unless they're really gifted, like the Cats, like the Jokers, like the Dirks. But Miles Turner is changing the game for them, right? And on the other side, Mitchell Robinson and Siakam. But Siakam had this finals experience. Now, I think a lot of people are talking about that finals experience because he dogged out Draymond during the finals too, and people forget like that didn't happen, like because the storyline was Kevin Durant's hurt, Klay Thompson's hurt, Boogie's hurt. Not my problem. Everybody who's on the floor got to play.
If you're on the floor, you got to play.
You're on the floor, you got to play. But I really believe that the Knicks, they have to build that bench. I said this to Peter weeks ago. I said this to everybody. At the beginning of the year, they have to build their bench. 7 players are not going to do it, especially when you have teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder. You have teams like the Indiana Pacers. You have even teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers who can go 9-10 deep. Boston Celtics, they can go 9-10 deep. You can't go 7 deep the whole playoffs. You can't go 7 deep all 82. And then for the next, 20, Be like, all right, let me add some razzle dazzle in. No, you.
I don't know. I don't even think that the bench was necessarily the reason why the Knicks are. Let me tell you something.
Mhm.
They have to really look at this officiating. I think this officiating was trash, and I think the turnovers were really bad too. I think Brunson really sometimes forgets that he's Jalen Brunson.
Mm-hmm.
Like he only scored what 2 points in the fourth quarter last night or something like that. Like, or he had like was it game two that he was just abysmal in game two, and people are not talking about that.
Do y'all notice something within this year in basketball? A lot of the times, the people we're looking to step up in the fourth quarter are not stepping up in the fourth quarter. I'll even go to my favorite player, LeBron James. I had a 0 point in the fourth quarter playoff game.
Yeah, but he's also ancient history.
Yeah, he's 3,000 years. He's also 3,000 years old, right?
Yeah, he's
Like,
he's a fossil in basketball years. The fact that he's even playing is a marvel.
right. But Ant Edwards recently, nothing in the fourth. Jalen Brunson, nothing in the fourth. Tyrese Haliburton had a few games like that where he kind of turned up in the fourth, but he also shot some bonehead shit throughout the game as well. I think, like you said, this series came down to officiating and turnovers, right?
Yeah.
Versus the other series on the other side on the West Coast is OKC is outplaying the Timberwolves, and also they Shea is doing what Shea does, being a free throw merchant, getting to the line all the time.
Yeah, I just think I'm not a fan of letting the fouls bail you out of a bad play.
Absolutely.
And it's feast and famine with that. I'm not a fan of it when the Knicks do it. I'm not a fan when any other team does it. I do believe that they try to rely on a foul to bail them out of not sticking to the game plan.
Mhm.
And it's just like when you're not getting the calls, you're not getting the calls, right? So you're not getting the calls, right? So clean up your passes. Clean up your be a little bit more aggressive in the paint. Because when Cat was starting to get more aggressive in the paint, when OG was getting aggressive in the paint, you get what I'm saying? When Deuce McBride was getting more aggressive in the paint, the Pacers didn't know what to do with them. They didn't. And that's on facts.
I'm gonna put the readers on here. I'm gonna put the glasses back on for this because this is important here. I'm gonna go right back to the notepad because this is important. Again, it's been a long time since I've been on this show and I've leaned on the stats, but the stats tell a story in this series. And I will say to you, Queen, that I will actually respectfully disagree. I will say in this regard,
respect these nuts.
If the Knicks lose this series, that game one atrocity will go down as the worst Knick playoff loss. Because if the Knicks win game one and the rest of this series goes the way that it goes, we're not talking about an elimination game coming back to New York in game five. We're talking about who's going to go up 3-2. We're going to talk about a tied series 2-2 if the games continue to fall the rest of the way they would have fallen. And then if we really want to play butterfly effect, who's to say how the Knicks could have rode the momentum of winning game one into winning game two and possibly beyond. So at worst, if the Knicks don't blow that game, we're looking at 2-2 going into game five, not a 3-1 deficit. At best, we could be looking at a complete role reversal. But here's what I'm going to get into, just talking about game four for a minute. Josh Hart had 5 turnovers in the first half alone that led to 8 Pacer points. The Knicks as a team, 17 total turnovers that the
11
Pacers,
between Brunson, Bridges, and Hart.
Yeah, which the Pacers turned into 20 points. On the flip side, On the flip side, the Pacers had 11 turnovers that the Knicks were only able to turn into 9 points. Right, so not even taking advantage there. The Pacers had a 22-9 advantage in fast break points in game number 4. And to Josh Hart fouling out of the game, the first Knick to foul out this series, even when Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns have played 2 games this series, each with 5 fouls, the Pacers scored 9 points, either as a result of his fouls or directly after a Josh Hart foul. So if we're talking about just Josh Hart in and of himself, he was responsible for 17 points by the Pacers. In respect to what Josh Hart scored, he scored 12. So if you really think about it, he gave away 5 extra points in that game, which brings you to a 4-point game instead of a 9-point game.
Right,
Now,
but look at the to be honest with you, who else is grabbing those rebounds but him?
well, granted, he's playing his role. The Knicks also had 2 critical turnovers on both of their first 2 offensive possessions to come into the second half of that game that led to a 7-0 Pacers run.
What were those turnovers? Fouls?
One by Brunson and one by Bridges.
A foul, right?
No. They had a steal
One was a foul.
Steal on Bridges, and one was a foul and one was a steal on Bridges.
So you can't count. If we've been talking about the officiating this whole time, right? So it's just like, what is it? I mean, I've seen both things happen. I've seen Haliburton, I've seen Miles Turner, I've seen Neesmith committing the same fraudulent, doing the same thing, but they're not getting the whistles. I mean, I'm just being honest.
No, and you're not wrong there. We have seen. I will agree with the both of you that there has been some questionable officiating,
and it changes the dynamic. It changes your momentum.
It does. What I also don't like, you kind of brought up a point of like, you don't like how players are looking more for the foul than scoring the points. I also don't like, especially speaking about the Knicks, they're spending a lot more time focused on why am I not getting the call rather than getting back on defense or just resetting what you need to do.
Absolutely.
Right? You didn't get the call. We've all played in basketball games, especially when we played on the playground where we just did not get the call. We know we should have, but at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and argue with the ref about whether or not it should. That's my coach's job. That's the bench's job. My job is to get back on defense, get back on offense, reset the mind, and stay in the game.
Yeah, but how hard is that? But can you imagine that you're playing for? We used to just play for shits and giggles on the playground. You know what I'm saying? And when you're blatantly seeing your stars all in foul trouble, who've never really had trouble with fouls, it changes your mindset because you are unsure of yourself now. Yeah. Because you're like, damn, if I do this, am I hurting more than I'm helping?
Right, and you also don't want to play off of the Pacers because of their prolificness from three-point line. Now, listen,
yeah, Boston was the best three-point shooting team in the league.
Right, and now we're talking about Haliburton, okay?
And Boston shot like ass in the playoffs too.
You know, I get it from a New York sense. Haliburton is reaching, I would say, Reggie-esque levels of hatred in New York. I'd say Haliburton has very quickly surpassed Trae Young is one of the more hated players in New York. But listen, Haliburton game 4, 32 points, 15 assists, 12 rebounds. Only the third player in NBA playoff history, to have a 30-15-10 stat line. Oscar Robertson and Nikola Jokic, the only other two. And the first player ever in NBA history to have that stat line with 0 turnovers. Haliburton had 0 turnovers in game number 4.
Good for him.
Yes, when we're talking 1-to-1,
I love
Brunson has.
Love it for what? To troll?
Love it.
Now,
I don't find it funny.
It's fine. I love it.
From a score, with the exception of game 4.
Hey, my team been in the finals more times than the Knicks have been in the last 25 years. I don't know.
Now, with the exception
and Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler went one. Well, Who
twice.
cares about Jimmy Butler? Where is he now?
Golden State and
What team is
Cancun.
he on now?
Oh, Golden State and Cancun.
Oh, where's he watching? He's in Cancun? Okay.
Where the Knicks is about to be?
Yeah, but they still went to the Eastern Conference Finals.
It's very true, but in a pure scoring sense,
Nobody's gonna care about Haliburton next season.
with the exception of Game 4, Brunson had outscored Haliburton.
Of course he did, but we're sitting there giving this guy props for one game,
Well,
and
no.
everybody got all up in arms because he got mad because he was called overrated. You know what I'm saying? By people, by his peers, not by me, because I forgot he even existed.
Listen, Haliburton has had a great series, right? Game 1, 31 points, 11 assists, 4 rebounds. Game 2, 14, 11, and 8. Game 3, 27 and 4.
14, 11, and 8. That's not all-star level points.
Well, listen, Game 3 is the only game that the Knicks won, so that's the one game. Hey, they were able to hold back on now defensive, but again,
Game
as Drake
2,
Pascal Siakam, 39 points in Game 2, absolute monster game.
Absolutely.
30 in Game 4, absolute monster game. Keep that guy in control on the even number games. Mathurin, who had 20 points off the bench in Game 4, that was more points in Game 4 than he scored the entire series up to this point. He scored 9 in Game 1, 0 in Game 2, 2 in Game 3, and they let him come off the bench and score 20 points. Now, when we talk about the bench play, Dre, listen, the Knicks played 4 players in Game 1, 3 players in Game 2, 4 players in Game 4, in Game 3, 5 players in Game 5. Game 4, the only game that Game 3, the only game that they won, the bench scored 22 points. They've gotten 17, 11, and 21 off the bench in the other 3 games, with no player scoring in double figures in any of those games. Versus when we look at the Indiana bench, they've played 5, 6, 5, and 5 off their bench at every game. 31, 21, 27, and 36 points off of their bench players.
But you know what you're not talking about? How many fouls were called on each team?
Well, the Knicks have had more fouls called against them, but yet their bench has been the more ineffective bench. I would think if you have a better bench with your guys having to sit down, right, you'd have guys who can come off the bench and score, and that's what we're seeing.
And the guys, that's what you're seeing. That's what you're seeing in New York as well. When the bench was playing, they were up. They were plus 14. They are down. They're negative 12 with Brunson on the court. But do you sit Brunson? No.
But you know why they're negative 12? And this is where I think I'm going to get a lot of enemies tonight. I really am.
No one cares.
I said on an episode 179 with Dre and Matt that Mikal Bridges really needed to step up. And because I thought Mikal Bridges was unfortunately, the weakest link when it came to like, hey, we might have to move some pieces. We got to do some things, stuff like that. But I hate to say this, and this is hard to say considering what this man has done in this playoff series. But I actually think the issue is not Mikal Bridges. The issue is that Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns do not play well together.
Yeah.
You know why?
They just do not. Defensively, they don't play well together. Offensively, they don't play well together.
They're not. Neither one of them are good defenders on their own.
Right.
Neither one of them. And offensively, you know whose fault that is? That's Brunson's fault.
But unfortunately, here's the thing: the Knicks aren't going to get rid of Brunson. I kind of feel like the Knicks are may have to cut bait on Karl-Anthony Towns. You're going to probably get a bigger return on Karl-Anthony Towns, and you could be able to put some more pieces around Brunson and Bridges and
don't build around Brunson. Brunson's 5'11".
But they're going to. You know the
you
Knicks
don't build around Brunson though.
Brunson
agree. Is not that Brunson. You don't build around your shooting guard. He's not Steph Curry.
Faster. We've seen this. You know this. I know the short guards age very fast. But the Knicks are going to, if they're picking between Cat and Brunson, I can almost guarantee you my bottom dollar, the Knicks as an organization will pick Brunson over Cat. Even though we know it's probably not the smartest choice. I also think the Knicks fan base revolts if you drop Brunson versus Cat. If you keep Cat and drop
But
Brunson,
why are we even going this team first? This team exceeded. Let's be real here. The Knicks, they're playing with house money.
yes.
At this point, did anybody expect the Knicks to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals at all?
I expected them to lose to Boston.
I expected them to lose to Detroit.
I thought
We
they was
should
gonna
get
lose.
that series.
I thought they was gonna lose to Detroit too.
I thought they were going to lose to Detroit. Let's be real here. We're jumping. I think we're jumping ahead of the curve. We're jumping ahead. Okay? The Knicks are not complete. They've never been complete. This is the Knicks. They'll never be complete. Right? Mikal Bridges has not played well this series either. Erratic at best. OG Anunoby has disappeared from the series too. On and off. No one's playing consistent. No one.
And yet,
And yet, Indiana is barely beating them.
they are. And I got to give credit to Rick Carlisle. I think Rick Carlisle does not get the respect that I think Carlisle deserves.
Rick Carlisle. Who gives a fuck?
Carlisle.
They're not playing well. The Pacers are not playing well.
They're
the
not.
problem is
they are
the
taking
Knicks are not
advantage
playing
of
well
the
either.
mistakes the Knicks are making.
Exactly. They're
And yes,
both playing
officiating
mediocre.
as well.
Yeah, but I'm not sitting there blaming it all on the officiating. I'm not sitting there saying that, the Pacers, were the better team. I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying the Pacers are playing mediocre.
Yep.
And the Knicks are playing below average. Period.
But I think the question that I want to bring to you, Tay, is are we as Knicks fans happy with, okay, we played above expectations, we got one Eastern Conference final in the last 25 years, or are we trying to talk about building a repetitive playoff Eastern Conference, possibly NBA Finals team for years to come? And that's where I feel like a lot of Knicks fans, not you, but a lot of Knicks fans get very short-sighted in the sense of like, oh, okay, we made the Eastern Conference Finals, we're good, we'll go into next year, but they don't think future. You, I know, are not like that. You can think differently. You think a lot more analytically than the average fan. I think a lot of people are getting blinded and are going to get very butthurt about the fact that the Knicks are going to lose, but they're getting very blinded by the fact, like, okay, well, we made the Eastern Conference Finals, let's run it back next year, and not address the deficiencies that this team so plainly has that will cause it to not be a repetitive playoff team.
Because even if you get rid of Cat and you bring a Giannis, it's going to be the same shit. You know that, right?
I think this team with Giannis and Brunson.
Let me finish I'm not finished my point. I'm not finished. I don't even think to be honest with you, I don't think Brunson and Giannis. Brunson is a guard that's not good with assists this entire series.
Yep.
It's been maybe 2 assists, and you can't. And when you don't have it, you gotta dish it. When you don't have it, you gotta create it. Let me tell you something about these Knicks, right? In a year where everybody thought it was going to be the Cavaliers, no one thought it was going to be the Pacers. No one thought it was going to be the Knicks. It was either supposed to be Boston or Cleveland. Let me tell you where the Knicks fucked up. Just like in 94, where there was no Jordan, or this person, or that person. Just like in 99, when you had the shortened season. You did not capitalize on the bait that's in front of you, right? You have a chance. This was your one chance to play the best basketball that you could have played. And you know what you did? You botched. Do we know why you botched? No. Will we ever know why you botched? No. But like you said, Peter, I have to agree. People do get all emotional about where we are right now, and they forget that there are deficiencies. Do I think this series is a reflection of the bench deficiencies? No, because when the people on the bench played, they played with fire. They played very well. Do I think that this is a reflection of... I think I've mentioned it a few times that I think Brunson is a little too sloppy in the fourth quarter. this has happened several times, and I've seen it.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And the Knicks really all season did not really beat great teams.
They were 0-10 against teams in the top of the Eastern Conference.
Yes. So
But
while I would say they're playing with house money, they should be happy that they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Yes. Do I think that there should be improvements made? Absolutely. Do I trust Leon Rose to make the right decisions, to make those right adjustments? Absolutely not. That's right. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
you know, you're not wrong in anything that she said, but here's the thing. You know what's going to happen. Knicks fans are going to sit here and they're going to be disillusioned by the fact that you're looking at, for example, and you're right, by the way, about Brunson. Only one game this series he's had over 10 assists. That was game 2, which the Knicks lost. He had 11 assists. He had 5 assists in game 1, 1 assist in game 3, which the Knicks won. He's also his lowest scoring
on the bench. He spent a lot of that second half on the bench.
Yeah, also his lowest scoring game, 23 points. He was almost outscored by the Knicks bench, who scored 22 points in that game. And then 31 and 5 for Brunson in game 4. But here's the thing, Knicks fans are going to get disillusioned by seeing, Jalen Brunson averaging 33 points a game in this playoff series. They're going to look at Cat and they're going to be like, oh, how could you get rid of a guy who's averaging, if I have this right here, 26 points a game, 11 and a half rebounds a game in this series. They're going to call for Tibbs's head. They're going to say it's all these different things. They're going to see these beautiful numbers and like, oh my God, 33 points in the playoffs, 26 and 12. Oh my God, Cat was amazing. And they're not going to see the obvious deficiencies, right? Like you said, there's spacing problems on this team. I have seen more Knicks crowding the 3-point line than I have seen. I've seen more cheerleaders under the basket than I have seen Knicks players.
Absolutely.
I see Karl Anthony Towns every time he goes for a rebound.
4-2.
Right. And every time Karl Anthony Towns going for a rebound, like this, he's reaching. He's trying to use that long arm. He's tipping those rebounds. He looks like Dennis Rodman trying to tip a rebound to himself back in the day. The difference is he's not getting the rebound. It's this team needs a different identity, and I get it that the state of the NBA is what it is. But I see the Pacers playing down low. I see Oklahoma City playing down low. I see Minnesota playing down low. I see 5 Knicks around the 3-point line.
Yeah.
I get it. Karl Anthony Towns could shoot a 3, but you're a 7-foot dude. Body somebody, please.
You already know how I feel about centers shooting 3-pointers.
Yo, that's what I was thinking about the whole time Cat has been in New York. I'm just like, he's not the center that New York needs. Like we have not
center.
Yeah.
But I said this when we made the trade, and everybody wanted to flame me. But I said this about Cat is not built as a center for New York. But listen, here's the thing: if you're being guarded and you have a mismatch and you're outside, sure, take advantage of it. Take the shot. Make them guard you. Make them foul you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are going up against Miles Turner.
Mm-hmm.
Miles Turner's a bozo too, by the way.
Exactly.
Big
drive
bozo.
past the guy because you have the athleticism, Cat, to drive past him, make him foul you on the way past, or make them pull a defender into the paint, kick the ball out to a 3-point shooter, or go up as the legendary Bill Walton would say, go up, big man, bring it down, get the foul, right? Go in there and have a guard have to foul you and have them have to continuously run Siakam, run Haliburton, run Nate, have those guys get into foul trouble.
They were trying.
Right. So now they're not as effective. But
they
when
were
you
trying, and then
Towns,
Turner got away with 3 goaltends last night to me on Towns. I'm sorry. Right. He did. And I just saw the 4th.
You know, when you're talking about when I see Karl Anthony Towns shooting threes from the wing, when I see Brunson not even trying to drive, literally just dribble, hits the arc, pop up. That's all it is. There's not even a dribble drive and a kick. I'm sorry, but it was not. Yeah, I get it that I played basketball 15 years ago, but the game has not changed where the number one point of attack is downhill, dribble drive, and kick. Dribble drive, draw the defense, and kick out. It's still an effective play. And when you have guys like Mikal Bridges, like Karl Anthony Towns, who can shoot threes, okay, space them out, dribble drive in. You know they're going to guard Brunson. Either go up and get the foul or dribble drive, draw the defense, and kick out. I also don't understand why they continuously want to put Hart in the starting lineup. Josh Hart needs to be leading the bench, not the starting lineup. I feel
That's
like
disrespectful to Hart, though, because let me tell you something. Nobody's hustling like him on that team. So granted, it's sloppy. Sometimes it's sloppy. Sometimes it's bonehead moves. But if Josh Hart didn't get those key clutch rebounds, right, in game 3, Knicks were not winning that game either.
But he got those in the fourth quarter.
He was dishing. Right. That's when that's
what I want him out there. I don't need him starting the game. I don't need him as starting guard.
Set the tempo. But you gotta set the tempo though. The problem is the Knicks they dig themselves. This has always been their problem. Always is generational. They dig themselves in a deep hole very early in the game. It's as if they forget how to play ball.
Yep.
And then they get a spark 6 minutes and 47 seconds into the third quarter. And then they become the better team usually, and then end up either losing or winning. The only players on the Knicks that have been positive impacts in this series has been Mikal Bridges, right? Mikal Bridges, I want to say, what's his name? Shamit. I thought it was Shamit. But Shamit and that other random that played.
I mean, when you look at these minutes played per game, I mean, you've got Miles McBride averaging 20 minutes off the bench, and Mitchell Robinson averaging 25 off the bench. They've been the most effective Knicks players. McBride, I feel, just hasn't gotten enough shots and hasn't gotten enough consistent minutes in the game. I would rather have Deuce out there starting at the guard with Brunson, space the floor a little bit because you got a lot of big bodies out there with Bridges and Towns and OG. So space the floor a little bit, give you another shooter on the outside of McBride, and then have Robinson and Josh Hart, your big and your small, come in with that second unit and really keep the tempo going, because now you have Josh Hart coming in when Brunson's got to sit. So you've got Hart running with Towns, Hart running with Bridges. If Towns is on the bench, you have Robinson out there, but then it severely drops. Landry Shamet, as you said, has only played in 2 games this series, getting 11.3 minutes a game, scored 3 points over the course of this, a 3-point average over the course of this series. Cam Payne played 9 minutes this series.
Yeah, but Cam Payne, when he was on the court, was not playing well.
Right. And then Precious Achiuwa has been completely a forgotten player as a big as well. You've got guys on this bench that are not playing versus that Indiana bench where you've got
the bench. That's the issue. It's the play. Brunson is not playing well. Cat is not playing well.
Yes,
I'm not going to take a gamble on guys that didn't get me to the dance.
But and I mean that's the thing. You've got Indiana has gone 11 deep in this playoffs.
Fuck Indiana.
Their lowest minutes per game is 8.7 minutes per game, and that's for Thomas Bryant, who played the most minutes that he did when in Game 3 when the Knicks got the bigs in foul trouble. Tony Bradley 11 minutes, Shepard almost 13, Obi Toppin getting almost 18 minutes a game.
All right, I think we're going with minutes. We're going with minutes, and we're getting granular to try to sway facts sway opinions into facts, right? The reason why Indiana has a deep bench like that because they don't have any superstars on their team. They are a team of good B+ players.
And we have seen a team like that win a championship before.
It won't be them.
Because the Detroit Pistons, I would say that until they won that championship, no one was calling Chauncey a star. No one was calling Rip Hamilton a star.
But they're not dogs like Detroit was dogs.
They're not dogs. They're not. But I'm just saying, Detroit, until they won that championship, because people rewrite history and they say, oh, Chauncey Billups was a star, all these guys. None of those guys. Right. Chauncey, Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace. They were not seen as stars until
they were
after they won that time.
They were trying to throw Rasheed out the damn league, bro.
They sure was.
But
was it Detroit's grit, or was it the fact that the Lakers were having more problems than New Edition in 1991? Like
that was they ran into a perfect Lakers team to win that title against.
And you know why too? Let me tell you why. Because they brought Karl Malone rapist ass on their team, and that's what they get.
They sure did.
So let's wrap this up here.
Washed up then too.
Do you think this series? Do the Pacers put the ultimate disrespectful knife into the Knicks, and do the Pacers beat the Knicks on their home floor to end this series?
But
or do they go back to
Indiana? The Knicks have been playing terrible at home this entire playoffs.
What I'm saying to the idea of the Knicks fan, Indiana beating the Knicks in the Garden to end another series. Do they end it in Game 5, or do the Knicks find a way to give the Knicks fan hope and take it back to Indiana for Game 6?
But that's what the Knicks do.
The Knicks give hope just for people to get let down.
So the Knicks are gonna win. I'd be shocked. Because in every scary movie, you always get one last fright, right? That last fright is going to be tomorrow. And the Knicks are going to win, right? And then Game 6 might be a little different. They might ruse us so much that they might even take this bitch to 7. The reason why I say this is because there has not been a game that Indiana has beaten them decisively. The Knicks have always been right there. And Indiana, you could tell they are giving the best they got for what they have at this time. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Knicks are right there. And who said that? And to be honest with you, Cleveland was the better team than Boston to me all season. I was excited about Cleveland this season.
I wasn't.
I was.
Because you know why? Cleveland is the Utah Jazz of the East. They do this all the time. They look like monsters in the regular season. They get to the playoffs and it's like, like.
And the Pacers are still the Pacers of old and lore. No one. Let me say something. I just feel like people just love to suck the teat when they don't like the Knicks or when they don't like this. And I don't like that because it's not fair. You get what I'm saying? I can give a very fair assessment that the Knicks are playing like garbage. But if you're playing like garbage and this team is barely beating you, what does that say about that team?
Yeah. Largest margin of victory was Game 4, 9 points.
And that was because the Knicks were down 5.
Yep.
Right? They couldn't get offense going. So it was very much any person's game with 3 minutes to go. And a couple of bonehead plays by Brunson, right? And having to foul several times in hopes that Turner or whoever would miss one, make one. That's how they lost by 9 points. Let's not make it seem like they were losing by 15 points with 5 minutes to go and finally remember that they were the Knicks. Every game Game 1 was one of the worst games I've ever seen in my life.
And listen, Brunson just started that 4-year deal, $156.5 million, where the big story, he took the $100 million pay cut.
He's worth it.
Stay with the Knicks.
Should have took the money.
Should have took the money.
Should have took the money.
Anytime I didn't take the money, I regretted it.
Dre, do the Pacers plunge the knife in Madison Square Garden, or do the Knicks find a way to take it back to Indiana?
Belt to ass in the Garden. Belt to ass in the Garden.
Well, as we wrap up this episode, just want to bring up the Knicks aren't playing as ass as the Minnesota Timberwolves are right now as we record this.
They're already
Game 5.
Yeah, they already bought their tickets.
Yeah, we are at halftime right now at Game 5. It is Thunder 65, Minnesota 32. I'll say that again. We just got to halftime, and it is 65-32, Oklahoma City, with Oklahoma City up 3-1. This game being played back in Oklahoma City. So Oklahoma trying to get that rest.
Yeah, before they sweep the Pacers, and I cannot wait to not watch it.
They about to do what Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook couldn't, and win a title.
Right.
In Oklahoma City. Oh, sorry, Serge Ibaka was on that team as well.
I like Serge Ibaka for what he was.
Great player.
Very good play. Very great is loose.
This is true.
Great is loosey goosey for sure, bro. That's great.
Tay, when we see each other again for episode 181, are you calling Oklahoma City, Indiana in the finals?
Yeah.
How many games you got that going?
I just said it 10 times. It's going to be 4.
Sweet. She said sweet.
Sweet. 4 straight.
4 straight.
Dre?
Have you been seeing Oklahoma City?
Pacers in 6 in the finals.
I'm done with you.
That ain't gonna happen.
I'm done with you.
Ain't gonna happen.
Unless
Haliburton's not gonna know what to do with SGA, man.
Yeah.
Huh?
Unless for some reason
they're gonna shoot lights out.
Unless you get a time machine, unless you find Michael's secret stuff and 90s Reggie comes through that door, and 2000s Jermaine O'Neal and 2000s Ron Artest walk.
But you talking about all those people who couldn't do it then? You think they're gonna do it now? You think they're gonna do it now? Nah.
Pacers got no shot.
No, they don't have a shot.
Hey, we'll see. We're gonna see.
Yeah. Hey, we will.
We will go see.
Okay.
I mean, we may not see. People may not. You like Tate's not gonna watch. So
oh no, I'm definitely not gonna see. I'm just gonna catch the highlights.
By the way,
I don't want to watch that. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't want to watch that. Watch that for what?
Dre, she would rather watch Aaron Rodgers' free agency than watch that final.
I don't even want to watch
bro,
that.
Nobody cares about that man.
I thought the Steelers got him. No,
he still hasn't signed with a team. By the way,
the Steelers are probably like, we don't want to deal with that shit. Like,
before we sign off, Aaron Rodgers still a free agent. Joe Flacco, number one on the depth chart in Cleveland.
I saw that, and I was, you know what?
They disrespected my family at this point, bro. Like some boys, bro. Like.
My man's Joe Flacco got a job in 2025. Atlanta don't want Kirk Cousins and his fully guaranteed contract no more.
They shouldn't have gave it to him.
No Aaron Rodgers.
They shouldn't have gave it to him.
Russell Wilson's on the Giants.
He didn't deserve it, but they should have gave it to him if you didn't want him. Like
Russell Wilson's on the Giants, and
he's doing everything right.
And
he
Joe
is
Flacco
doing that
got
New
a job.
York press tour, baby. He is being Mr. King of New York. You ever see? Russell Wilson has been outsought in New York City. I'm being honest. And I like that because it's showing that he's trying to really like be a part of the city, knowing that the Giants are absolute dog shit.
Mm-hmm.
As I sip from my Giants, tumbler.
By the way, Joe Flacco is listed as QB1.
I can't believe that. Yeah, you said that. I cannot believe that. I saw
because
that.
Deshaun Watson is out. It's Joe Flacco,
they
Kenny
still
Pickett.
have Deshaun Watson's freaky, creepy ass in the league.
Yeah.
Technically, he's still under contract, yeah.
He's
But you
weird.
got Shador Sanders,
Stephon Diggs
Kenny
handing out
Pickett.
drugs at parties.
Yeah, he
Kenny
sure
Pickett, and
was.
Joe Flacco.
That man is I don't know what's going on with these players.
Isn't it? Justin Tuck over here kicking for the Ravens out here, another massage freak.
Damn.
Yeah.
Ravens kicked him to the curb real quick.
As they should.
But ladies and gentlemen, that is episode 180 of the Yerrr Sports Show. We've got the Knicks losing. We've got the Timberwolves losing. Tay's not watching the NBA Finals. Dre's holding out hope.
Hey, you got something to say about the Knicks? Yeah. You got something to say about the Pacers?
The only thing I have to say is that Haliburton is the devil.
Oh, girl.
He's so
Whoa! Oh, you sound like your mother. Yo,
he's self-fulfilled for the last game.
Not Haliburton.
It wasn't. You know what happened? I wasn't here to do my curse.
We weren't here to do the Abdul Abdul.
Don't worry,
yeah.
we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it from tomorrow night. They're cooked.
I can't. Dre, lead us out.
What if the curse don't work?
It worked like hell on It worked
like hell on the Jets for sure.
No, let me tell you something. I pulled out some old work, baby, and the Knicks won game 3. I had only done it on game 3. You'll see tomorrow, live from MetLife. And the moment I said my work, and I felt bad because the moment I said it, Neesmith got hurt.
That was beautiful. Oh my gosh.
I was
man.
I do it, Debula.
Don't
man. How you Dr. Strange?
I'm fucking tired. I need to go to bed.
Got for Voice of Generation Pete Rosado, for BK Matt, for the Queen Tay. It is your boy, Big Baby, signing off. Peace.
stick your tongue in nobody's coos.
Wow.